Happy March! I'm Shannon with Modern Traditional Quilts. Today we're doing our diamond 4-patch block. You remember from our original quilt, we've got our demo quilt right here behind me in our sample. We have 9 different blocks that we're working on. Today we are working on this one right here. This is the scrappy version made from randomly placed half square triangles. And for our demo, we are going to be actually being fussing with our colors, and we're going to make our 9-patch this way. I've already got it laid out on my cutting boards. I'm pretty excited. And if you will recall from last time, we made our sawtooth block, and here's our sawtooth block already done. If you don't have this one done, no worries, you can go back and watch the previous episode. Okay, so just kind of review. Episode 1, we sewed all of these half square triangles. And the technique I've got up here on the screen for you. So if you need to pause the recording, you can. And also our fabric requirements were 2 packages of print charm squares, 2 packages of white charm squares, and then the technique to sew all these was demonstrated in our very first episode. The plan, last month we sewed our sawtooth block. Today we're going to be do block number 2 in our diagram, and it is this one on the screen, just what I showed you behind you. I'm pretty excited. All right, if you remember, we've also sorted our half square triangles into stack by colors. This quilt layout diagram shows if we just chose anything at random. We are on step number 2, our diamond 4-patch block, and with it being March, happy St. Patrick's Day, we are going to sew this particular block in green. If you want to pause the video and see how I sorted my colors and my charm stacks from the Rosemary Cottage fabric line, please feel free to do so. Okay, so today we're doing February's block, diamond 4-patch. This quilt layout diagram I've got it right here. Here's our colorways, and here we've got it sewn already with our test quilt in scrappy colors as well. Okay. So if you want to know what fabrics I chose, these are the fabric swatches from the Rosemary Cottage Charm Square. When I was laying mine out, I thought, oh, let's put darks in the middle so I can make the diamond really pop. It's a diamond 4 square, and I want it to look like a 4 diamond in each corner. And so I went ahead, I wanted to make sure my light square kind of rotated like a pinwheel, just had a little bit of fun with the layout. And if you go through your charm swap packages, these are the swatches that I used. Okay. My hint for you, squint at your colors, make sure you like your half square triangle placements. I squinted at mine and I saw that I wanted the dark squares in the middle and the dark squares on the outside because it made it really look like a diamond. You could totally rotate these and do lights in the middle and it would give you a different look. So just kind of make sure that you do that. It's kind of a fun little trick to help understand your color scheme. There is a traditional piecing of this block. The traditional piecing of this is to sew each quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4, as a diamond, and then sew the diamonds together. Okay. I just want to show you that it's the easy traditional method. You might see this written up in a lot of ways in other patterns. For me, since we are doing a sampler, we're doing a whole bunch of things. Last time I showed you the column method. And when I demonstrate this today, I am going to use the column method simply because I don't want to unpick or accidentally have one of my half square triangles in the wrong rotation. I want to make sure that it actually turns out like a diamond. Just kind of know if you do it this way, it's totally fine. And just want to make sure I showed you both methods. All right, so we're going to use chain piecing to sew the block. When I sew my blocks together, I'm going to go show column 1. Lay those right sides together, don't cut the threads. Then we're going to go to column 2, column 3, then column 4. So pretty cool. And we'll get going. All right, so column method 1, I'm going to sew 1, 2, 3, 4, not cut any of these threads. Then I'm going to take the second column, lay it on top, do this one, then the next one, and the next one. You get the idea? You can see I'm chain piecing those. Okay, if you look, I have a nice chain piece section of columns 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and press these open, and then we'll be ready to add column 3. All right, you can see I've got column 1 sewn to column 2. Now I'm going to take column 3, take this laid on top, and we're going to be able to sew column 3 all the way down. And as I do that, then we'll have everything oriented in the correct position. Okay, so I showed you how to do it the column method. Now I just want to show you that you can also do it the traditional method. If you look, I've taken my half square triangles and I've sewed them together in pairs. Okay, they're sewed together in pairs. Now I need to go back and do the crosswise seam. This one here, this one here, this one here, this one here. And then when I have all 4 sections done, then we can go sew the pairs together and then down the lengthwise down the middle. Okay, so a couple things to think about is pressing. Okay, we want to make sure we've got our seams pressed in the right directions. We want to make sure that we press our seams opposite of one another so that they nest. Nested seam has seam allowances going the opposite directions to reduce bulk. These little guys have a lot of bulk in the back because we're going to a really, really fine point. Okay, so there's some tricks here that I want to show you that a neighbor once showed me. I thought that were really fantastic to making sure we can get our points really, really sharp. Okay, so if you look, when you do columns, the reason why I like sewing these in columns is that I can make one row and press them in the opposite directions. When we do that, they can nest quite nicely. The other thing is to look at where your seams are and make sure you don't blunt the corners, right? We don't want any flat. We want really, really nice, sharp, crisp seams. So we want to look at where this goes. You can pin it. I put the pin in it just so you can see where I'm looking, but a lot of times I just skip putting in the pin. Look at I've drawn in yellow where my seams are going in the test block, and you can see that we've got a point right here, and then we've got a sewing seam allowance right here. Sometimes it's a scant 1/4 inch, which means a little bit smaller than a 1/4 inch. It's more important in your piecing to make sure you don't blunt the point than to get the whole thing in there. So your long arm quilter might disagree with me, but I'm a long arm quilter and I know how to make it work. So just make sure you don't pull too tight on that seam when you press it. Okay, I call this the X marks the spot. Okay, if we look and we're going to sew column 1 to column 2, or we're going to take this little part and we've got to go ahead and connect it to this next row like this. Oh my goodness, how am I going to make sure that I don't lose those seams? And the way that I do that is I press these open, I look for those crosshairs, I've got it drawn and highlighted the seam allowances. You can see there's an X here. That's where I want my needle to go when I'm sewing. And when you press it open, you can see you get 2 sharp points that align, which is really, really cool. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and sew those, and then I'll be right back. Of sewing, I want to just feel to make sure my seam hasn't skipped or moved anything on, and make sure that I can finger press and kind of hold it in the right spot while I get that seam right in there. That way I don't have any weird stitches or any blunted seams. You can see I'm going to strip these as much as possible. Okay, for those of you that want to see the traditional method, here I've got 4 diamonds. We're going to put a different set of these diamonds in each corner. Then we're going to sew them crosswise and get it all together. Okay, for those of you that want to do the traditional method, right, we're going to go here, 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 press them in opposite directions, and then we're going to sew down the middle. So I've showed the same block, how to do it 2 different ways, and hopefully you find which one you like best for yourself. No, you can't really make too much of a mistake, right? You can just take the block and rotate it if you have an issue. Okay, we've done the crosswise seam. Now we just have one final seam left, and I want to show you why pressing in this block is so important. Last block I didn't really stress too much about it, but this time it's really important. Let's look really closely. I'm going to take one of these chunks here, pick up this chunk, hold it close to the screen. Can you see how we've got our points are really, really super sharp and nice right there, right? Really, really nice. And we look on the back side, oh my goodness. look at all that bulk, okay? We want to follow the X marks the spot, right? If we do this one this direction, and then the adjoining seam in the other direction, these are gonna lie flat. Your long arm quilter isn't gonna have a problem hitting a bulky seam when it goes through there, and we aren't going to cut off those beautiful points that we just worked so hard to get. All right, we've done our X marks the spot, and here's our finished quilt block. Yay, doesn't it look great? I'm excited about it. Really, really, really like this seam right here. Look, nothing's blunted, everything's sharp, crisp coming into. If you want to see on the back, I also actually really like to hold my blocks up and kind of get a stained glass look at the back through the light. I know, silly thing. All right. Well, hopefully you had fun with this quilt along today. Happy Diamond 4-Patch Block Month. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy March. Go ahead and get those done, and we'll see you in April for our next tutorial. Happy quilting.